Are you satisfied that what is being done at the State House is helping them all carry out their mission to the best of their ability? Or is there something you need to change? Fairly wide open question. We'll start with Skylar.
I'll just say right now, when you compare Sioux County's public schools to often other areas, and even in the state of Iowa, they can often come off as probably a private school, which is a great thing. We have great private schools, we have great public schools, and we have lots of people that homeschool. I went to Northwestern. Northwestern and Dordt are great institutions, they're great colleges. Northwestern just beat Dordt both times last night in baseball. I gotta throw that out there because I played baseball there. No offense to the Dordt people. But what I'd like to see done, I've talked a lot about Common Core, but that's one thing I'd like to free up some independence for our public school, and I'd like our private schools to have independence. Now, I've talked to some from Western Christian, and that's their biggest thing. You know, they don't want any influence from the state, the homeschoolers don't want any influence from the state, and the public schools want a little more freedom. Now, they have to do everything that they're told. So that's somewhere that I think that we can set to improve, but as far as Sioux County schools go, they're pretty solid, especially compared to even the rest of the nation.
Kevin, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think we're very fortunate in Sioux County. We've got some great schools. You know, they all fight with the budget. You know, is there enough money coming in? Is there not? You know, they do get a lot of money, but it's hard to give any more, but we need to. This is a huge problem for us. We've got to keep educating our children. We need to keep the control of these schools into the local school boards. We elect these local school boards. You can talk to your school board members, and they need to be able to control the curriculum, and they also, you know, need to be able to control how they're getting there, how they're getting to the right level in there. And we need to try to keep the state, and especially the federal government, out if we can. Okay? But they do need some guidelines. Okay? And I do believe, you know, they need guidelines so that everybody's playing on the same playing field, so that when they get to be a high school senior, we're all at the same spot. We're not some that are 2 grades below and some 2 grades ahead. We do got great schools in this district, and public and private both. And I've spoken to a lot of the superintendents and a lot of the principals of these schools, and I'm trying to get their feedback on it, and they're happy with the way it's going right now. They do feel they have control, but we always need more local control. The more you can keep the government out of it, the better the school district's going to be.
Yeah, there's no question education has always been primarily a local issue. I think we do have kind of an enviable balance of school choices in Sioux County between our public schools, private schools, parochial, homeschooling, lots of great options. We've, I think, achieved a certain partnership and kind of equilibrium that is quite commendable. One of the things, though, that I do think the state could do a better job of when it comes to education is that they make a more timely effort of passing along whatever the state supplemental aid, or in the past they used to call it allowable growth, is going to be, rather than waiting to the last minute, which really puts our school districts in a bind in terms of planning, in terms of being able to be prepared and anticipate what they can and cannot do, who they can hire, what they can't. And so right now, state legislature is really just ignoring the guidelines, the code, in terms of how soon in advance they're supposed to be passing along what's going to be permissible at the state level or at the local level. Now, I've been knocking on a lot of doors. I've worked my way through a couple communities, partway through another couple communities. Every door that I ask, and I introduce myself and I say, what's the issue or the concern that is, you know, that you might have? I haven't had a single person say Iowa Board of me. They've not raised that. Now, I suspect in some ways that is one of those toxic words out there, and so I want to kind of set it aside. But it really is as I've talked to school superintendents, other educators. I was at someone's door in Sioux Center whose wife worked at Sioux Center Christian, and now they're both at Unity. They just want high standards, right? We want high standards, and then we want local control over our curriculum. Let locals determine how they're going to meet or get to those standards. And I think we're doing that. I've
been knocking doors since October. I've knocked a lot of doors. And I have heard Common Core and Iowa Core a lot of times. That's not something that's been made up. Okay? This is easily one of the biggest issues that I hear at doors. I can tell you right now, out of the audience, there's multiple people in here that would tell you Common Core is a very big issue. I don't know where that came from. I know you just started knocking doors. But I'm going to tell you, since October, I've knocked a lot, and it's definitely a big issue.
I'll just read the one that kind of sums up what most of these questions are. I have firsthand experience with a program I personally call the Headache of Education, more commonly known as Common Core. And I would like to know where each of you stand on the topic of Common Core and why you've chosen that stance.
Okay. Common Core, it is a toxic term that's out there, okay? I've spent a lot of time talking to superintendents of public schools, private schools, to principals, to teachers, to school board members. I've gone to them, to a lot of them, I've talked to them. They all tell me the same thing, that Iowa Core is not the problem. Iowa's Core is a roadmap to get to where everyone's at the same level. I had a very smart gentleman from Sioux Center tell me he's got 6 fourth grade classes, and now he knows that they're all going to be at the same level after the 4th grade. They're not going to be some that are a little behind and some that are a little ahead. They're all going to be about the same spot. So if this child transfers to another school district in Iowa or in the country, they're going to be fairly close. So this is a way to get them at certain levels, okay? They don't get told what curriculum to choose. They get to choose their own curriculum. Okay, and that's what we need. We need the local school boards, the local superintendents to be able to choose what to teach their children. But they just need to get them to this level so we get everybody up there, and we need to keep raising these standards to get higher education for our kids. It's not, from the principals and stuff that I've talked to, they've all said it's not the core that's the problem. It's that some people don't quite understand the core. But all the Corps is doing is tell us when they get to be 8th graders, this is what they need to know. So get them there. You choose the way to get there. You get the route, and you get them there and let them learn. That's what our superintendents and our school boards are doing. They're picking the curriculum, and they're getting them to that level. And I think they're doing a good job.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of already shared a little bit about it. And no, I'm not in any way claiming that anybody's making anything up. I believe you that you're hearing that. I'm just saying in the 200 plus doors I've knocked on, nobody's ever mentioned it to me. And in a couple of cases I've asked specifically about it. And so Common Core in particular, Iowa Core to a secondary extent, does give people exercise. And I'm not saying that maybe in some places it is being used in ways that are inappropriate. But around here, I have a hard time believing. I'm going to put a certain amount of confidence or trust in some of our local leaders. That's why we elect school board members. School board members who then hire superintendents, who then are in charge of hiring principals. And we've got to trust our local citizens, right? If Sioux Center Christian has aligned themselves with Iowa Core, I can't imagine that it's the boogeyman that some people make it out to be. So.
Well, I figured this would probably be a hot topic this week, so I did a little more research on the actual Common Core and Iowa Core standards. If Sioux Center Christian does have it, technically in the Iowa Core standards, I realize that they don't have to choose and they don't have to go by everything, but it does heavily teach evolution. It pushes evolution big time. It also pushes climate change. We have a failing grade when it comes to history in the state of Iowa. And I did my research, we used to be incredibly high when it came to education. We used to be way up there. I don't know why we decided to take this, maybe for the funding, but we need to get back to local control of education. And it's very sad to listen to some parents that are they feel very strongly about this. This is their make it or break it issue for a lot of them. So there's a lot more Iowa Core. If you want, I can come up with a paper and put it into pretty easy terms for you. But it is something that I think is a very big issue in the state of Iowa.